Elena stared at the equations on her monitor, tracing her finger along derivations she couldn't remember writing. The math was elegant, beautiful even, but utilized theoretical approaches she'd only vaguely considered in her most speculative moments. "This can't be right," she whispered, scrolling through page after page of work. The solution to the quantum field stabilization problem that had plagued her research for 18 months was complete, proven through 3 different methodological approaches. Her colleagues would call it brilliant if they weren't so busy questioning how she'd accomplished it overnight. The security footage played on her tablet. Elena at 3:17 a.m., eyes closed, moving with uncanny precision through the lab. Her sleepwalking self had assembled a prototype using components that, according to inventory records, didn't exist. Yet there it sat on her workbench, a perfect miniature version of the quantum field stabilizer she'd only sketched in theoretical papers. "Dr. Martinez?" Her assistant Thomas appeared in the doorway, concern etched across his face. "Are you feeling all right? Campus security called about your after-hours access." "I'm fine," she lied, pressing her fingers against her temple where a persistent headache had been building since she woke. "Just working through some unexpected breakthroughs." She didn't mention the dreams, vivid and increasingly strange, over the past week. Dreams where she solved equations while floating in infinite space. Dreams where beings with too many eyes and color-shifting skin watched her from shadows. Dreams where her thoughts became real. Above Earth's atmosphere, Gzel's sensory appendages trembled as he presented his findings to the research vessel's command circle. "The human female's quantum manipulation abilities exceed anything in our historical archives," he explained, projecting the monitoring data into the telepathic space shared by the 7 senior researchers. During REM sleep, her mind generates coherent quantum field alterations extending outward approximately 12 meters from her physical form. Commander Zurith's appendages coiled in skepticism. Many carbon-based species display minor electromagnetic variations during unconscious neural states. This hardly warrants a direct acquisition. "With respect, Commander," Gzel countered, "observe the molecular restructuring events." He projected a time-lapse recording showing lab equipment materializing component by component beside the sleeping human, assembled from base elements in the atmosphere. "She's not manipulating existing matter. She's converting quantum probability into fixed reality that persists after she wakes." The command circle fell silent, their shared telepathic space tinged with the distinctive frequency of collective alarm. "The High Council must be informed," Elder Scientist Threll finally communicated, her thought patterns heavy with implications. "If humans possess this ability naturally, it changes everything we understand about sentient evolution. It suggests..." She left the thought unfinished, but all present understood the reference to their species' most ancient texts. The pre-rationality codices that describe the mythical shapers who could dream worlds into being. "We proceed with acquisition protocol," Commander Zrith decided. "Prepare the specialized containment chamber with quantum isolation fields. We will extract the human female during her next sleep cycle." Back in her apartment that evening, Elena sat cross-legged on her bed, surrounded by journals filled with her increasingly bizarre dream records. The recurring symbols, the equations that solved themselves, and most disturbing of all, detailed sketches of beings that looked nothing like humans watching her from the periphery of her dreamscape. Her fingers traced over a particularly detailed drawing of a tall, willowy creature with color-shifting skin and multiple sensory stalks. She'd never been artistic before, yet these renderings showed anatomical details she couldn't possibly have invented. Specialized breathing apparatus, ternary nervous systems visible beneath translucent outer membranes, and communication appendages that emitted what her dream self somehow knew were telepathic frequencies. The headache intensified as she tried to make sense of it all. Her phone buzzed with text messages from colleagues marveling at her breakthrough, asking how she'd solved the stabilization problem that had stumped the entire field. She ignored them all. Instead, she opened her laptop and began typing a message. To Dr. James Chen, the only colleague she trusted enough with her growing suspicions. "James, I need your help with something unusual. The breakthrough everyone's talking about. I have no memory of doing that work, Security footage shows me sleepwalking through complex assembly procedures with my eyes completely closed. And these dreams I've been having. She stopped typing, suddenly overwhelmed by fatigue. The words blurred on the screen as her eyelids grew heavy. She should fight it, should finish the message to James, should call someone, anyone. But the pull of sleep was irresistible. As consciousness faded, Elena didn't notice the subtle shimmer in the air near her bedroom window, nor did she see the specialized monitoring device phasing into visibility between dimensions, its alien architecture shifting momentarily into perceivable reality as it synchronized with her brain patterns. In her final moments before dreaming began, she didn't hear the telepathic communication passing through her ceiling. Subject entering REM state, commence extraction. Miles above, the Valthration acquisition team prepared to make humanity's first official alien abduction a reality, unaware that by bringing Elena aboard their vessel, they were about to place the most powerful reality-warping mind ever documented into direct contact with the most advanced quantum technology in the galaxy. The universe would never be the same again. Increase magnification on neural cluster Alpha 6, Cazell instructed, his 4 manipulator appendages dancing across the holographic interface surrounding Elena's unconscious form. The suspended observation chamber, a perfect sphere of transparent material unlike any human glass, gave the 15 Valthration scientists unobstructed views of the sleeping woman from all angles. Neural imaging appeared in the air above Elena, showing cascading patterns of activity that made senior neurophysicist Larixel emit a low harmonic tone of scientific excitement. Impossible, Larixel whispered, mandibles clicking rapidly. The human's dream state is generating quantum entanglement bridges between her prefrontal cortex and the external environment. She's not simply imagining, she's connecting. Cazell adjusted the sensors, his own excitement barely contained behind the professional demeanor expected of a chief scientist. The entanglement effect extends approximately 23 meters now, significantly farther than our initial measurements on Earth. On the monitoring displays around the chamber, instruments recorded the phenomenon in real time. Random atomic movement in the air around Elena, gradually organizing into ordered patterns matching her brain's electrical activity. More alarming were the subtle changes in the ship's instrument readings, subtle shifts in calibration that aligned systems with Elena's understanding of physics rather than established Valthration parameters. Security Officer Vren's exoskeleton bristled with programmed threat response as she reviewed the data. "This violates containment protocols," she hissed, eye stalks retracting protectively. "The subject is changing our equipment's baseline functions." "Not changing," Cazell corrected, fascination overriding caution. "Redefining. Look at the molecular coherence patterns." The display showed a 3-dimensional model of quantum field interactions surrounding Elena. Patterns that should be random showed unmistakable signs of organization, as if reality itself was being edited line by line. "Humans evolved in the Orion quantum anomaly," Cazell continued, bringing up a stellar map showing Earth's position in a region of space long known for unusual particle behavior. Their entire species developed in a section of the galaxy where quantum uncertainty is measurably higher than standard baseline. They aren't manipulating existing fields. They're natural quantum generators. Inside the chamber, Elena's dream manifested in subtle but accelerating ways. The temperature around her dropped 15 degrees as she dreamed of a winter cabin in the mountains. The faint scent of pine and wood smoke permeated the sealed environment. Most remarkable was the journal beside her, its pages turning on their own as new entries appeared in her handwriting, describing events that hadn't happened yet. Recording Dream Journal Manifestation Event 27, Assistant Researcher Thrix noted. Subject continues documented precognition effects. The writing describes a meeting with an unidentified female human named Amira, who will supposedly provide breakthrough insight on quantum field manipulation. A meeting scheduled for next Tuesday according to the Earth calendar. Zell moved closer to the chamber, peering at Elena's face. Her eyes darted rapidly beneath closed lids, and her lips moved in silent conversation. For a brief, unscientific moment, he wondered what it would be like to dream as humans did, with such vivid, reality-altering intensity. The lights throughout the research deck flickered suddenly as Elena entered a deeper sleep phase. The half-finished painting on the wall of her containment habitat, a recreation of her apartment bedroom, began completing itself stroke by stroke. The beach scene materialized as if painted by invisible hands, matching precisely the coastal landscape from her childhood that featured prominently in her neural activity. The effect is growing stronger, Vren observed with mounting alarm. Energy consumption in this sector has increased 18% in the last hour. The quantum field distortions are becoming impossible to mask from Earth's detection systems. Containment is still effective, Cazell insisted, though the slight color shift in his epidermis betrayed his concern. The isolation field prevents large-scale manifestations. The words had barely left his communication appendage when the laboratory's ambient lighting shifted to a warm golden hue, matching exactly the sunset forming in Elena's beach painting. For 3 seconds, the entire research deck appeared to exist on a tropical shoreline, sand temporarily replacing the metallic flooring beneath their feet. "Initiate secondary containment protocols," Vren ordered, panic frequencies leaking into her telepathic commands. "The subject must be—" A high-priority communication pulse interrupted her, making all present freeze in the Valthration equivalent of shock. On the global monitoring displays, simultaneous equipment failures appeared at research facilities across Earth, all exhibiting identical malfunction patterns that matched Elena's nightmare about lab equipment failures from 3 nights prior. "She's reaching Earth from here," Thrix whispered, all scientific detachment gone from his communication. "Impossible distances." Gzell stared at his instruments that now displayed readings increasingly aligned with human theoretical models rather than the established Valthration science they were built upon. The quantum stabilizers, designed specifically to prevent reality distortion, were themselves being distorted at the subatomic level. The most disturbing realization came as he reviewed the neural mapping data. With each observation, each measurement, each attempt to understand her abilities, they were strengthening the very phenomenon they sought to contain. Their scientific curiosity was creating a feedback loop, amplifying Elena's abilities beyond their natural limits. "We're not observing her dreams," Cazell said quietly, as comprehension dawned. "We're becoming part of them." Elena turned in her sleep, a slight smile forming on her lips as, in her dream world, she solved another impossible equation while strange beings with shifting skin colors watched in growing wonder and fear. Elena woke with a gasp, her body jerking against unfamiliar restraints. The room around her was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Curved walls of iridescent material that seemed both solid and slightly fluid, pulsing with soft bioluminescence. Most alarming were the beings surrounding her examination platform, tall, willowy creatures with shifting skin tones and multiple eye stalks that swiveled to focus on her with unnerving precision. "You're real," she whispered, recognition dawning. "You've been in my dreams for weeks." The tallest being stepped forward, its appendages making precise gestures that somehow registered as communication in Elena's mind. "I am Chief Scientist Cazell," the being explained, though Elena couldn't determine if she was hearing words or simply understanding thoughts. "We have been monitoring your unique neural patterns. Your species possesses abilities that challenge our understanding of reality." Elena's scientific training momentarily overrode her fear. "You've been studying me. The equations, the prototype, that was because of your interference." "Incorrect," Xel responded, his skin rippling in what Elena somehow knew was the Valthrasian equivalent of fascination. "We observed, but you created. Your mind generates quantum field manipulations during dream states that physically alter reality." A display materialized beside her platform, showing brain scans alongside complex energy patterns. Elena recognized her own neural architecture, but the surrounding quantum field measurements were unlike anything in human science. "This is impossible," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Dreams can't reshape physical reality." "For most species, correct," Kizel acknowledged. "For humans, specifically you, incorrect." Fear gave way to anger as the full implications hit her. You abducted me. You've been invading my dreams, experimenting on me without consent. The lights throughout the chamber flickered in perfect synchronization with her rising pulse. The Valthracians exchanged what appeared to be alarmed glances, their telepathic communication creating a subtle pressure in Elena's mind. Emotional distress accelerates the effect, a smaller Valthracian noted clinically, manipulating controls on a nearby console. Initiating quantum dampening field. A humming filled the air as invisible energy surrounded Elena's platform. The restraints holding her loosened slightly, apparently meant to reduce her stress level. Cazell approached with what seemed an attempt at a reassuring gesture. The dampening field will stabilize the quantum fluctuations, he explained. For your safety and ours. Elena closed her eyes, trying to manage her panic through the breathing techniques she'd learned for her narcolepsy. In the darkness behind her eyelids, equations began forming unbidden, mathematical descriptions of the energy field surrounding her, weaknesses in its configuration, theoretical approaches to counteracting it. The ship's alarms activated with a piercing tone that made the Valthracian's appendages vibrate in distress. Field integrity compromised, the smaller alien reported. Dampening effectiveness at 62% and declining. Cazell moved quickly to a more advanced console. The field is resonating with her brainwave patterns instead of counteracting them. Recalibrating. Elena felt the change immediately. A pressure in her mind, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. The dampening field, designed to contain her abilities, was instead synchronizing with her brain's electrical activity, creating a feedback loop that amplified her dream state manipulations even while conscious. You're making it worse, she warned, watching as the equations in her mind began manifesting as glowing symbols in the air around her. Something's happening. I can feel it. Across the ship, crew members reported systems behaving erratically. Navigation computers displayed Earth's continents rearranged into patterns matching Elena's childhood drawings. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, temporarily matching Earth normal before shifting to lunar levels. Most disturbingly, personal items from Elena's apartment began materializing in random locations throughout the vessel. Books, photographs, coffee mugs appearing as if they had always been there. Meanwhile on Earth, Dr. James Chen stared in disbelief at the weather satellite imagery on his monitor. Storm formations over the Pacific had arranged themselves into a pattern that unmistakably spelled out Elena when viewed from orbit. Every electronic device within a 50-mile radius of her apartment was displaying fragments of her quantum field research. Cell phones, digital billboards, security systems all showing the same equations. It can't be a coincidence, he muttered, pulling up footage from an orbital telescope he'd hacked on a hunch. The infrared spectrum revealed something massive yet partially transparent hovering in the stratosphere, its structure shifting between alien geometries and architectural elements he recognized from Elena's research facility. His phone rang with a call from Professor Yamamoto at Tokyo University. Chen-san? The physicist's voice was tense. Are you seeing these quantum field disturbances? They match Martinez's theoretical models precisely, but they're occurring in real time. It's Elena, Chen replied, fingers flying across his keyboard as he triangulated the anomaly's position. Something's happened to her, and whatever it is, it's broadcasting her consciousness across global systems. I think... He hesitated, the words sounding absurd even to his scientific mind. I think her theories about dreams affecting quantum reality weren't theoretical at all. Light years away, the emergency director interrupted the Valthracian High Council's strategic planning session, panic evident in his telepathic broadcast. The containment vessel reports critical instability, he communicated urgently. The humans, consciousness is altering molecular structures faster than they can be documented or contained. The Supreme Tactician's gesture silenced the erupting concerns. After a moment of solemn consideration, she raised all 6 appendages, the ancient motion authorizing the most extreme response. Deploy the nullification fleet, she ordered. If we cannot control this power, no species should possess it. Her vital signs are destabilizing, the Valthracian medical officer reported, manipulating the holographic displays surrounding Elena's containment chamber. Brain activity shows conflicting patterns across multiple consciousness states simultaneously. Xel studied the readings with growing alarm. Elena's body twitched and convulsed against the restraints. Her skin alternately flushed and pale as her mind battled the unfamiliar sedative coursing through her system. "Increase the dosage," the medical officer insisted. "We must suppress the dream state manifestations before they spread beyond containment." "The standard protocols aren't effective," Xel countered, but the medical officer had already authorized the enhanced sedative. They watched as the blue-tinged liquid flowed through the translucent delivery tube into Elena's bloodstream. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to scream. The eastern quadrant of the ship transformed with an audible crack of displaced air. Sterile corridors of metallic alloy twisted, warped, and reconstituted themselves into a densely wooded forest. Tall pine trees burst through deck plating, their roots somehow integrating with the ship's circuitry. Autumn leaves materialized mid-air, falling softly onto forest floor that had moments before been polished alien metal. "Evacuation Protocol 7, Security Commander Vren shouted through ship-wide communication channels, her normal telepathic composure shattered by the impossible restructuring of physical space. "All personnel retreat to unaffected sectors." Xel ignored the evacuation order, his scientific curiosity overwhelming even his highly evolved self-preservation instincts. He approached the boundary where ship reality met forest reality, extending a sensory appendage toward a particularly tall pine tree. The bark felt absolutely real under his touch, rough, organic, cool with morning dew that couldn't possibly exist in space. "Remarkable," he whispered, taking careful readings with his portable scanner. The sedative didn't suppress her consciousness, it liberated it from physical constraints. In the western quadrant, 3 Valthrasian researchers found themselves suddenly standing in what appeared to be a university laboratory. Human equipment surrounded them, some recognizable from their research into Earth technology, others seemingly impossible hybrids of human design principles and Valthrasian quantum manipulation technology. "These devices cannot exist," one researcher insisted, examining a machine that somehow incorporated both silicon-based circuitry and Valthrasian bioelectric components. "Neither species possesses the engineering capability to merge these systems." "They exist now," another responded, touching the machine's control panel and jumping back in surprise when it activated, displaying complex quantum field equations that resolved theoretical contradictions both civilizations had considered insurmountable. Throughout the ship, reality fractured along fault lines drawn from Elena's dreaming mind. The medical bay transformed into a beachfront cottage with medical equipment incorporated seamlessly into rustic furniture. The navigation deck became a planetarium from Elena's childhood, stars rearranging themselves to match her understanding of astronomy rather than actual stellar positions. Most disturbingly, crew members reported encountering ghostly human figures, people from Elena's memories and dreams who moved through the ship's transformed spaces with partial solidity. Her deceased grandmother tended the forest undergrowth. A favorite professor from her university days lectured insubstantially in the hybrid laboratory. Her childhood best friend splashed in the impossible ocean that now filled part of the ship's recreation area. Xel made his way back to the central observation deck, navigating through corridors that existed simultaneously as ship passageways and hiking trails from Elena's memories of Colorado. He found the medical officer staring in wonder at a wall that existed in 2 states simultaneously, both solid metal and a transparent window overlooking a beach that could not possibly exist in space. "This defies all physical laws," the medical officer whispered. "No," Xel countered, his scientific mind racing ahead to the implications. "This redefines them. Humans don't manipulate quantum fields. They generate them directly from neural activity. The sedative simply removed the limitations her conscious mind imposes." He attempted to transmit his findings to the approaching fleet, carefully documenting the unprecedented phenomena for scientific analysis. But as his transmission passed through the reality-warped sections of the ship, the precise scientific language transformed into fragments of poetry, from Elena's dream state, equations becoming metaphors, warnings becoming verse. On Earth, Doctor. Chen's hastily assembled research team stood transfixed before a wall of monitors displaying data from every scientific instrument they could access. Satellite imagery showed an impossible thermal signature hovering above the Pacific, moving at speeds that violated known physics. Gravitational sensors detected localized space-time distortions that matched theoretical models for Einstein-Rosen bridges. "It's as if something is folding space directly above us," whispered Dr. Yamamoto, her voice barely audible over the frantic tapping of keyboards as researchers documented the unprecedented phenomena. On the main screen, amateur video footage from fishing vessels showed something materializing over international waters, a massive structure shimmering into partial visibility. Its form constantly shifted between sleek alien geometries and distinctly Earth-like elements, Victorian towers sprouting from smooth metallic hulls, coral reef formations growing along alien alloys, observatory domes housing telescope equipment. Those are Elena's drawings, Chen realized with sudden clarity, pulling up files from her research papers. The theoretical observation platforms she designed for quantum field studies, they're materializing on that ship. Military jets scrambled, worldwide, approaching then veering away in confusion as their instruments failed to provide consistent readings. Pilots reported visual confirmation of a structure that somehow appeared simultaneously solid and transparent, technological and organic, alien and familiar. Inside what had once been the Valthration research vessel, Cazell made a breakthrough realization while examining the boundary between ship reality and dream reality. The patterns of quantum field generation emanating from Elena's unconscious mind weren't random. They followed mathematical principles that combined human intuition with Valthration precision. The sedative didn't enhance her abilities, he told the remaining scientist who had chosen knowledge over safety. It removed her conscious limitations, the self-imposed boundaries that kept her power contained. Behind him, through the reality-shifting corridors, Elena's restraints dissolved into autumn leaves as her dreaming mind continued to remake the world around her according to rules only she understood. Dr. Chen's presentation at the emergency United Nations session projected onto screens surrounding the circular chamber. Despite the unprecedented circumstances, he maintained his composure as he displayed brain scan comparisons taken from hospitals worldwide. These patterns appeared simultaneously across all 7 continents, he explained, highlighting identical neural activation sequences from patients in different time zones, speaking different languages with no connection beyond their shared humanity. Every human in REM sleep during the past 72 hours has shown this exact synchronization pattern. The Secretary General leaned forward. "And you believe this is connected to Dr. Martinez's disappearance?" "I know it is," Chen replied, advancing to the next slide. "These activation patterns precisely match Elena's baseline scans from our research, but they're appearing in everyone. Something has triggered a form of collective neural resonance." He displayed medieval manuscripts depicting saints whose dreams manifested as miracles, ancient cave paintings showing shamans whose sleep brought rain, and classified documents about government remote viewing experiments that occasionally produced physical effects. "Humanity has always had this potential," Chen continued, his voice gaining confidence as scientific understanding overcame his initial disbelief. "The historical accounts we dismissed as superstition or fraud, they were documenting real phenomena. What makes Elena unique isn't the ability itself, but its amplification." A general from the Joint Chiefs interrupted. "You expect us to believe that dreams can reshape reality? That's fantasy, not science." Dr. Yamamoto stepped forward, her credentials as head of quantum physics at Tokyo University, lending weight to her words. "3 days ago, I would have agreed with you, General, but observe." She played footage from a hospital in Mumbai where a comatose patient's dreams had manifested as physical objects, medical instruments appearing and disappearing beside his bed as he dreamed. Similar footage followed from hospitals in London, Buenos Aires, and Nairobi, each showing impossible manifestations during patients' REM sleep. "The effect is global," Yamamoto confirmed, "but limited in scale, except near the anomaly over The Pacific, where manifestation power increases exponentially. Chen revealed his most alarming discovery. Brain scan comparisons showing identical activation patterns between dreamers worldwide since the Valthration ship became visible. We're becoming linked, he explained, displaying a map of manifestation, incidents that grew stronger where human population density was highest. The closer humans are physically, the stronger the effect. Throughout history, these incidents remained isolated because of our geographic separation, until now. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, a representative from Kenya spoke, her voice steady. If what you're saying is true, then 6 billion dreaming humans could reshape reality itself. Precisely, Chen confirmed. And whatever took Elena, whatever that object is above the Pacific, it's acting as a catalyst, amplifying and broadcasting the effect. Aboard the reality-shifting research vessel, Elena floated in a state between sleep and wakefulness. Her body remained in the medical chamber, but her consciousness extended beyond physical constraints, touching the dreams of humans below. Artists in Paris found themselves painting landscapes from Elena's childhood they'd never seen. A physicist in Berlin woke with complete understanding of her quantum field theories. Children in Lagos dreamed of friendly creatures with eye stalks who taught them equations beyond their years. Xel watched in fascination and horror as his remaining crew members, attempting to establish telepathic control over Elena, instead became conduits for her expanding influence. The Valthracians evolved telepathic abilities, developed over millions of years for precise contained communication, provided perfect channels for human dream energy to flow backward into alien minds. Sever the telepathic link, he ordered, as crew members collapsed one by one, their consciousness joining the expanding network. But it was too late. Their rigid, ordered Valthracian minds were being overwhelmed by the chaotic creativity of human dream logic. Junior scientist Thrix convulsed on the deck, his exoskeleton changing colors rapidly as human dreams flowed through his telepathic centers. So much imagination, he whispered before losing consciousness. How do they contain it all? Xel maintained enough scientific detachment to continue documenting the phenomenon, though his observations grew increasingly poetic as human thought patterns influenced his perception. The ship, partially existing in multiple realities simultaneously, had become the nexus point of something unprecedented, a collective consciousness spanning two species, neither fully in control. In his last coherent transmission to the approaching fleet, Xel described what he was witnessing. The human mind does not distinguish between imagination and reality at the quantum level. Their consciousness uses the same neural pathways for both, which appears to be an evolutionary adaptation to their quantum active region of space. Our telepathic abilities, evolved for precision, are being overwhelmed by their chaotic dream energy. We are not containing them. They are absorbing us. The transmission cut off as Xel finally succumbed, his consciousness joining the expanding network centered on Elena. In dreams across Earth, humans glimpsed fragments of Valthracian knowledge, mathematical, concepts beyond current human understanding, memories of worlds humans had never visited, technological principles that would leapfrog centuries of development, and the Valthracians, in turn, experienced something they had engineered out of their species millions of years ago: the chaotic, beautiful unpredictability of dreams. Elena, at the center of it all, began to understand her role as the bridge between species. Her consciousness expanded beyond individual constraints, perceived the approaching Valthracian battle fleet, their intentions clear as crystal across the void of space. They came not for scientific discovery but to neutralize what they perceived as an existential threat to cosmic order. Through the dream network, she sent a single, powerful thought to every sleeping human on Earth. We are not alone, and we are stronger together. Across the planet, dreamers stirred in their sleep, unconsciously preparing for a confrontation they didn't yet understand, but somehow knew was coming. Fleet Commander Thrax moved through the command deck of the flagship Inevitable Order, her exoskeleton gleaming under the blue-tinged light of tactical displays. The massive view screen showed Earth's solar system, highlighting the anomalous energy signature emanating from the third planet. Final approach coordinates confirmed, her navigation officer reported. We emerge from subspace at the system's edge in 17 minutes. Thrax reviewed the attack plan with practiced efficiency. 63 vessels of the nullification fleet would emerge simultaneously, establishing a containment perimeter around Earth before deploying planet-scale quantum stabilizers, technology designed to neutralize reality fluctuations by force-aligning local spacetime with Valthrasian physical constants. The preliminary reports from the research vessel are concerning, her science officer noted, displaying fragmented transmissions from Gzell. Chief Scientist Gzell's final communications suggest the human anomaly has expanded beyond containment parameters. All the more reason to proceed, Thrax responded. The High Council was clear. If we cannot control this power, it must be neutralized before it spreads. On Earth, military commanders from 17 nations crowded into NORAD's Central Command, watching as their most advanced monitoring systems tracked something impossible approaching from the outer solar system. Multiple objects emerging near Jupiter's orbit, announced the radar specialist, her voice tight with tension. Configuration, unknown, but they're moving in formation. Definitely not natural phenomena. The assembled commanders watched as 63 objects of identical size and composition appeared on their screens, arranging themselves into attack formation. Their movement patterns eliminated any possibility of natural explanation. We're looking at first contact, General Williams stated flatly, and judging by that formation, not the friendly kind. Before anyone could respond, the specialist's voice rose in confusion. Sir, we're detecting additional objects, hundreds of them, appearing throughout the solar system. The main screen updated to show a bewildering array of new signatures materializing between Earth and the approaching Valthrasian fleet. The images made no sense. Vessels of wildly different sizes and configurations appearing from nothing. Their designs unlike anything in human records. What the hell are we looking at? Demanded the NATO Supreme Commander. Dr. Chen, who had been consulting with the military since his UN presentation, stepped forward. My God, he whispered, recognizing elements in the vessel's configurations. They're from our collective imagination. The specialist enhanced the images, revealing details that confirmed Chen's impossible assessment. Sleek ships matching designs from popular science fiction franchises flew alongside vessels that resembled ancient sailing ships. Somehow adapted for space travel, massive space stations appeared that perfectly matched online gaming environments. Theoretical NASA designs that had never left the drawing board now moved in perfect formation. Most impossibly, mythological constructs from dozens of human cultures, manifested as functional battle stations, a Norse longship trailing cosmic fire, a massive turtle from Chinese legend carrying weapon arrays on its shell, a gleaming Egyptian solar barge radiating energy shields. They're not illusions, the radar specialist confirmed, checking readings for the 5th time. They're generating actual mass and energy signatures. Meanwhile, the Valthrasian fleet continued its approach, unaware of what awaited them. As they crossed Saturn's orbit, their sensors detected the impossible array of defensive positions throughout the inner solar system. Configuration analysis incomplete, the Valthrasian sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking in confusion. The vessels appear to utilize incompatible propulsion systems, impossible energy sources, and materials that cannot coexist in stable form. Commander Thrax studied the data with growing concern. How can they maintain formation with such dissimilar technology? They're not using technology as we understand it, her science officer realized, horror evident in his telepathic signature. These constructs appear to operate on narrative principles rather than physical laws. The Dream Fleet, operating on principles from the collective human imagination rather than actual physics, engaged the Valthrasian vessels with weapons that defied conventional understanding. Rainbow energy beams from cartoon-inspired ships phased directly through Valthrasian shields designed to block any known energy frequency. Mythological vessels emanated effects that transformed matter rather than destroying it. 3 Valthracian cruisers became swarms of luminescent butterflies when struck by energy from the Egyptian solar barge. Aboard the transformed research vessel, now floating half-submerged in a Pacific Ocean that extended impossibly upward into space, Cazell struggled to maintain his individual consciousness within the expanding dream network. Fighting through the chaotic flood of human imagination, he established emergency contact with the fleet. "The humans aren't attacking you," he transmitted, his careful scientific terminology dissolving into poetic imagery as it passed through the dream field surrounding Earth. "They're defending themselves without knowing it. Their dreams are responding to perceived threats automatically." His message arrived corrupted, his warnings transformed into vivid metaphors about cosmic balance and the power of imagination. Commander Thrax, watching her most advanced destroyers incapacitated by technologies that shouldn't exist, received only a fragment of Cazell's intended meaning, a simple image of a human child's drawing, showing aliens and humans holding hands beneath a smiling sun. "Retreat Protocol 7, she ordered, witnessing another vessel transformed into a flock of origami birds. "Subspace engines at maximum. We cannot fight what we cannot understand." But the Dream Fleet, operating on the collective human assumption that advanced alien ships would have superior escape capabilities, had already manipulated local spacetime. The Valthracian vessels found themselves unable to navigate away as reality itself bent, according to human expectation rather than cosmic law. Trapped in a battle they could neither win nor escape, the Valthracian fleet faced the full creative force of humanity's collective imagination, a power they had long ago engineered out of their own species in the name of order and predictability. "How can they do this?" whispered Thrax as her flagship's systems reconfigured themselves according to a child's understanding of how alien technology should work. The answer came not from her officers, but from the dream network itself, a gentle thought appearing in her mind. "Because we never stop dreaming." The White House Situation Room had been transformed. Where military planning tables once stood, specially designed recliners now formed a perfect circle. World leaders, the American president, Chinese premier, Russian president, and 14 others, lay in medically induced sleep states, their brainwaves synchronized through technology reverse-engineered from fragments of the Valthracian vessel. Dr. Chen monitored their vital signs moving between stations with quiet efficiency. "Neural synchronization at 93%, he reported to the assembled scientists and military personnel. "They're entering the shared dream space now." Within that dream space, a magnificent amphitheater combining architectural elements from every human culture alongside Valthracian biological structures, Elena stood at the central podium. After weeks as the nexus of the expanding dream network, her consciousness had evolved beyond conventional understanding. In the physical world, her body remained aboard the transformed research vessel, but her mind existed simultaneously in billions of dreams across Earth, and now, in this carefully constructed diplomatic interface. "Welcome to the first cross-species Dream Conference," she greeted the human representatives as they materialized in the shared consciousness. "The Valthracian High Council will join us momentarily." The human leaders looked around in wonder, experiencing the dream space with all senses despite their physical bodies remaining thousands of miles apart. "This is impossible," whispered the German chancellor, touching the smooth stone of a column that seamlessly transitioned into what appeared to be living coral. "Not impossible," Elena corrected gently. "Just beyond our previous understanding." The Yao air shimmered as the Valthracian delegation arrived, not in their physical forms, which would be too alien for productive communication, but as shimmering crystalline entities that human minds could more easily comprehend. At their center stood the imposing presence of the Valthracian prime consciousness, the oldest and most powerful mind of their species. "We meet in dreams because reality has become negotiable," the prime consciousness stated, its thoughts translating into words the humans could understand. "Your species has awakened something dangerous," Elena nodded respectfully. "Something you once possessed yourselves." The amphitheater darkened as the prime consciousness projected memories into the shared space. Vivid images of ancient Valthracians, physically different but recognizable, creating reality through collective dreaming. Cities that rearranged themselves daily according to competing dreamers' visions. Ecosystems that shifted between tropical and Arctic as different factions dreamed contradictory environments. Individuals whose bodies transformed based on internal self-image rather than genetic coding. We called it the chaos time, the prime consciousness explained. Our civilization nearly destroyed itself when competing dreams reshaped reality daily. Holographic DNA structures materialized above the central stage, showing precise genetic modifications made millennia ago. 10 million years past, we excised these abilities from our genome. We chose stability, predictability, and eternal scientific progression over creative chaos. The Russian president leaned forward. You destroyed part of yourselves. We saved our species, countered another Valthracian elder. Dream reality manipulation made cooperation impossible. How can you build lasting civilization when the fundamental nature of reality is subject to change based on individual whims? The American president frowned. Yet you created technologies that manipulate reality in controlled ways. Your ships, your weapons, they all bend physics just as our dreams do, through science, through rational, predictable application of universal laws, the Valthracian elder insisted, not through unconscious emotional states and irrational narrative impulses. The human representatives experienced a sudden, visceral understanding, as Valthracian mathematical proofs flowed directly into their minds. Complex equations demonstrating how human dream power wasn't merely reshaping local reality, but altering universal constants themselves. A simulation appeared, showing an expanding bubble of altered physics spreading outward from Earth, creating regions where established cosmic laws no longer applied with complete consistency. Your Shakespeare, your Einstein, your Buddha, all products of the chaotic creativity we sacrificed, the prime consciousness acknowledged with something like wistfulness in its telepathic voice. But your dreams, unchecked, will eventually unravel the cosmic fabric itself. Elena stepped forward, her form in the dream space occasionally shifting between human appearance and something more abstract, a visual representation of her expanding consciousness. You fear what you don't understand because you chose to forget how to dream. The dream conference began to fracture as individual human fears manifested in response to the Valthracian warnings. Nightmare scenarios of cosmic destruction appeared as spectral images around the amphitheater. Shadowy visions showed Earth isolated by frightened galactic civilizations, humans subjected to genetic modification programs, children born without imagination. Elena struggled to maintain the connection as reality shifted around them, the dream space, itself responding to the emotional turmoil of its participants. The Valthracian delegation stabilized their portion of the shared consciousness, their millennia of mental discipline creating islands of order amidst the chaos of human fears. In one stunning moment, a young representative from Kenya stood, her dream self radiating with unexpected power that momentarily eclipsed even Elena's presence. You fear our chaos because you've forgotten how to dream, she declared, her words reshaping the dream space itself. Perhaps that's the real tragedy. The Valthracian ultimatum materialized as two doorways at opposite ends of the amphitheater, one leading to a future where humanity accepted genetic modification to remove their reality-changing abilities. The other, showing cosmic entropy accelerating as human dreams rewrote fundamental forces across the galaxy. Choose. The Valthracian Council demanded collectively, their crystalline forms pulsing with urgency. Your dreams or the universe's stability. Elena, drawing on newfound control of her abilities and the support of billions of dreaming minds connected to her, created a third door that neither species had imagined, a doorway shimmering with possibilities that defied both the rigid order of Valthracian science and the chaotic potential of unfettered human dreams. There is always another way, she said, extending her hand toward the unexpected path. If we're brave enough to imagine it. 6 months after the Dream Conference, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Valthracian Human Research Institute. The massive structure rose from the Arizona desert like an impossible coral reef. Living walls of bioluminescent material, seamlessly integrated with human architecture, neither species' design principles dominating the other. Through the crystalline viewport, she watched distant dream fields shimmer over Phoenix, visible now to the human eye as translucent auras of possibility surrounding population centers. The fifth fundamental force, she explained to the interspecies scientific team assembled behind her. Consciousness itself. Dr. Chen nodded, gesturing to the massive holographic display showing real-time data from the global dream integration network. Billions of humans were learning to lucid dream simultaneously, their collective consciousness carefully channeled through protocols developed jointly by human mystics, neuroscientists, and Valthrasian telepathic experts. We're monitoring reality, fluctuations across 17 parameters, Chen reported. The stabilization protocols are holding at 93% effectiveness. Elena's form shifted slightly as she adjusted her conscious control of her reality-altering abilities. After months as the primary conduit between human dreamers and Valthrasian scientists, her perceptions now existed partially outside conventional space-time. She could see the quantum probability field surrounding objects and people, shifting clouds of potential realities that most humans perceived only unconsciously during dreams. The integration centers report significant progress, added Dr. Yamamoto, who now headed the Global Education Initiative. Children show particular aptitude for controlled manifestation. On the main screen, footage played from a classroom in New Delhi, where elementary students sat in meditation circles, collectively dreaming small objects into existence. Flowers, butterflies, simple toys that maintained cohesion even after the children woke. In another window, teenagers in Sao Paulo practiced more complex manifestations, repairing environmental damage to a local river by restructuring pollution at the molecular level. Not without incidents, cautioned Security Director Williams, bringing up a report from Cincinnati, where a teenager's nightmare had temporarily transformed a shopping mall into a labyrinthine horrorscape. Another incident in Tokyo showed an elderly widow whose dreams had briefly manifested her deceased husband, creating a localized temporal anomaly that took 3 dream technicians to stabilize. The incidents decrease weekly as understanding grows, Elena noted. We're learning our limitations as quickly as our possibilities. In orbit above Earth, the transformed research vessel, now a living symbol of cooperation, housed the most ambitious experiment in cosmic history. Through a direct feed, Elena watched as a Valthrasian elder who had undergone voluntary genetic reactivation of long-dormant abilities worked alongside human dreamers to heal radiation-blighted regions of Earth by reshaping subatomic reality itself. We removed these abilities believing them too dangerous, Cazell admitted, joining Elena at the viewport. His position as liaison between species had given him new perspective on his own civilization's choices. We chose safety over possibility. The mathematical stability was perfect, but something essential was lost. Elena smiled at her former captor, now friend and colleague. And we might have destroyed reality with unchecked dream power without your guidance. Perhaps neither approach alone was correct. They watched as a group of children in the Institute's central garden concentrated on a collaborative dream. Their combined consciousness manifesting a butterfly species thought extinct for 30 years. The iridescent insects fluttered into existence, not as temporary dream constructs but as viable organisms with stable DNA reconstructed from humanity's collective memory of their appearance. The Galactic Conclave representatives arrive tomorrow, Cazell reminded her. 17 civilizations sending observers to evaluate our arrangement. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. As Earth's designated ambassador, she would represent not just humanity but a new approach to existence itself, one where consciousness and reality functioned as partners rather than operating in separate domains. The next day, Elena stood on the ancient speaking platform of the Galactic Conclave, a gathering of spacefaring civilizations drawn to investigate the spreading bubble of altered physics. Her body existed simultaneously in physical form and as a dream projection across thousands of light years. a demonstration of the variabilities under discussion. We offer neither apology nor limitation, she began, addressing beings who communicated through light patterns, chemical exchanges, and gravitational pulses. Humanity brings something thought impossible, a universe where consciousness and reality are partners rather than strangers. Real-time translation systems converted her words, but more importantly, the dream network now extending from Earth allowed her to connect directly with the assembled representatives on a deeper level. I invite you to experience what words cannot explain, she offered, extending the shared dream consciousness to the gathered species. What followed was unprecedented, a carefully structured dream share across 17 fundamentally different forms of sentience. For one breathtaking moment, the collective imagination of species who had evolved across billions of years merged in shared creation. Each experienced the other's perception of existence. Each contributed to a momentary manifestation that appeared as a shimmering nebula visible from the conclave's observation deck. Beautiful, temporary, and utterly impossible by the laws of conventional physics. As the alien representatives emerged from the experience, their reactions ranged from religious awe to scientific fascination to primal fear. An ancient machine intelligence, having observed without participating, delivered the session's most profound conclusion. The universe has always been conscious. Humans simply reminded it how to dream. Returning to Earth, Elena found herself standing in a massive gathering at the Arizona Institute. Millions of humans worldwide were participating in their first globally coordinated conscious dreaming, a careful exercise developed over months of testing. As their shared creation took physical form in the central plaza, a massive tree composed of materials unknown to science, bearing fruit that contained new mathematical theorems, she finally understood what her unexpected gift truly meant. Reality was never meant to be fixed and immutable. It was always meant to be a conversation between mind and matter, between dream and physics. Humanity's chaotic creativity wasn't a cosmic anomaly. It was cosmic memory, awakening at last. As children from 100 nations raced forward to examine the impossible tree, their wonder creating miniature reality fluctuations around them. Like auras of possibility, Elena exchanged glances with Xel. "What have we begun?" he asked, scientific caution wrestling with newfound wonder. "Not begun," Elena corrected, watching the universe respond to conscious dreams for the first time in millions of years. "Remembered?"